When my daughter-in-law told me to leave, I smiled instead of crying. I do not know why I smiled. Maybe because the pain was too heavy, or maybe because deep inside I already knew this day would come. All my life, I helped everyone. I gave, I supported, I stood by my family. But when I needed a hand, no one came forward. This is my story, a story of a mother who loved and gave and sacrificed until she had nothing left.
I was never a rich woman, but my heart, it was always full of love, full of hope, full of dreams for my children. I raised my son with simple values. Help others, I told him. Stand by your family, I taught him. Never let anyone feel alone. These words, I believed them with all my soul. When he grew up, he became everything I prayed for. Hardworking, quiet, soft-spoken, a good boy. When he got married, I welcomed my daughter-in-law like she was my own daughter. I thought our home would become warmer, our family would feel complete. In the beginning, everything was peaceful. She smiled at me, I smiled at her. We cooked together, we talked about small things. We shared tea in the evenings. I truly believed this was the daughter I never had. But life changes quietly, sometimes without making noise, sometimes without warning.
The small moments were the first to change. Very small, almost invisible. One day, she stopped sitting with me in the evenings. Another day, she preferred to eat in her room. Then slowly, she stopped talking unless she needed something. At first, I ignored it. I told myself, she must be busy. She must be tired. She will come around. But she didn't. My son worked long hours, and when he came home, she took all his time, which is natural, but somehow I began to feel like a guest in my own home. She didn't say anything directly, but silence sometimes speaks louder than words. If I walked into a room, she walked out. If I cooked something, she said she wasn't hungry. If the phone rang and it was her family, she suddenly became sweet again. I pretended not to notice because I didn't want my son to feel torn. One evening, I heard them whispering, not fighting, just whispering. Her voice said, "I want freedom. I want my own space. I cannot live with your mother forever." My heart broke, but quietly, silently, like a paper tearing inside. The next morning, she avoided me, and for the first time, my son avoided my eyes too. The house that once felt warm suddenly felt cold.
The day it happened, I remember every detail. It was raining outside, soft rain, the kind that makes the whole world feel quiet. I was in the kitchen, making tea. My hands were shaking, but I pretended everything was normal. Then she walked in. Not angry, not shouting, just distant. She said, "Ma, I think it's better if you stay somewhere else." I looked at her. For a moment, I didn't even understand. I thought she was joking. But she wasn't. She continued, "We need our own life, our own privacy. We cannot live like this anymore." I waited for my son to step in, to say something, anything. But he didn't. He stood behind her silently, his head bowed, his eyes full of guilt. In that moment, I realized something painful and true. Love cannot hold people who do not want to stay. I felt tears gathering, but I swallowed them, and instead of crying, I smiled. A small, broken smile. I said, "It's okay, beta. I understand." Because mothers always understand, even when their own heart is cracking open.
Packing my things was the hardest moment of my life. Not because I owned much, but because every item had a memory. The shawl my son bought for me, the cup I used every morning, the family photo on the shelf, the one where we were all smiling. I touched each thing softly, as if touching the past one last time. My son helped me pack, but he couldn't meet my eyes. Maybe he felt shame. Maybe he felt torn. Maybe he simply loved her more. I didn't blame him. Love is complicated. Life is complicated. When I stepped outside with my small bag, the rain had stopped, but the world still felt wet and heavy. I looked back at the house I built with love, a home that no longer had space for me. I whispered to myself, "It's not my home anymore." Now, when I sit alone in my small rented room, I think a lot. I think about life, about love, about family. I realize one thing clearly. Sometimes you can give your whole heart and still end up alone. Sometimes you help everyone, but when your hands tremble, no one reaches back. But that does not mean your love was wasted. No, love is never wasted. It simply becomes a part of who you are. It makes you kind, it makes you gentle, it makes you strong. I still talk to my son. He still calls me. Sometimes he says, "Ma, I miss you." And I smile and reply, "I miss you too, beta," because a mother's heart never closes. If there is one thing my story has taught me, it is this: help others, love others, but do not lose yourself. People change, situations change, homes change, but your strength, your kindness, your dignity, those stay with you forever. I helped everyone and no one helped me. But still, I choose love.